Peppa Pig and the Halloween Costume. It's almost Halloween. I love trick-or-treating, says Peppa, and jack-o'-lanterns, and I love dressing up. George loves Halloween too. Peppa is trying to decide what she wants to be. I know, says Peppa. I will be a pirate. I will sail the high seas and hunt for buried treasure. But I'm going to be a pirate, says Danny Dog. I even have an eye patch. Maybe I'll be a clown instead, says Peppa. I will do a juggling act. I'm dressing up as a clown, says Pedro Pony. I have big clown shoes and a funny red nose. Okay, says Peppa. Maybe I'll be a nurse. I'll make everyone feel better. But Peppa, says Susie Sheep, I'm dressing up as a nurse. Peppa frowns. Well then, I'll be a witch with a pointy black hat and a broom. Peppa, says Candy Cat, I already have my costume. Pointy black hat, broom, I'm a witch. George has an idea for Peppa. Dinosaur. Peppa does not want to dress up as a dinosaur. Peppa thinks she'd like to be a brave space traveler, but that idea is taken. She even considers dressing up as a vegetable. Sorry, says Rebecca Rabbit. What can I be for Halloween? Asked Peppa. Maybe a brave cowboy? A happy tiger? A sparkling ballerina? Peppa thinks and thinks. Then she has an idea. I'll be a brave, happy, sparkly fairy princess. Peppa likes her wings, crown, and wand, but her costume isn't quite perfect. Peppa thinks that maybe there is something missing. That's it. Every fairy princess needs muddy puddle boots. Happy Halloween! The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is that Peppa considers that she can dress up as a vegetable, but that idea was taken. Peppa Pig Best Friends. Once upon a time, Peppa's best friend Susie Sheep came to play. I have something to show you, said Susie. Susie held up a photograph of a baby sheep. Look, it's me, said Susie. You're not a baby, Susie, said Peppa, shaking her head. This is an old photo, Susie explained. It was taken when I was a baby. Peppa snorted. She didn't remember Susie being a baby. That was just silly. Susie pointed at Peppa. In the olden days, you were a baby too, she said. I don't remember being a baby, said Peppa. But you were, insisted Susie. Ask your mommy. Peppa and Susie raced inside. Mummy Pig was working on the computer. Mummy, said Peppa, Susie is making up stories. No, I'm not, Susie said. Peppa told Mommy about Susie's silly idea. I don't remember being a baby, Peppa insisted. But you were a baby, Peppa, said Mommy Pig. Mommy Pig pulled up a picture of a baby pig on the computer. Who do you think that is, Peppa? She asked. Peppa thought that the baby looked like a cousin, Baby Alexander. Is it Baby Alexander? She asked. No, replied Mommy Pig. That's you as a baby, Peppa. Peppa was surprised. She had been a baby. Hee hee, hee hee. Peppa and Susie giggled. Baby Peppa looked very cute. George and Daddy Pig came to see what all the fuss was about. Look, Daddy, said Peppa. That's me as a baby. I remember it, said Daddy Pig. That photo was taken on our first date in this house. What do you mean? Said Peppa. Daddy Pig told Peppa, Susie, and George that they had moved into their house when Peppa was very little. We brought all our things to the top of our car, he said. Mommy Pig put up some pictures, said Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig put up a shelf, said Mommy Pig, and Grandpa Pig made us a lovely flower garden. Peppa and Susie went outside. There was no flower garden at this house. Why don't we have a flower garden now? Peppa asked. We used to, but Daddy Pig looked after it, Mommy Pig sighed. Said Daddy Pig, embarrassed. We had the wrong kind of soil for flowers. Was Susie my friend in the olden days? Asked Peppa. Daddy Pig nodded. Of course, he said. Hee hee. You and Susie have always been best friends. Peppa wondered what game she played with Susie when they were little. Did we jump up and down in muddy puddles? She asked. No, Mommy Pig laughed. You were babies. You couldn't even walk yet. Then you grew into toddlers, continued Mommy Pig, and you played together all the time. But where was George? Peppa asked. He was a baby in my tummy, said Mommy Pig. Peppa thought for a moment. Daddy Pig's tummy was even bigger than Mummy's. Is there a baby in there? She asked. No, Peppa, chuckled Daddy. This tummy is pure muscle. Soon George was born, Mommy Pig said, and Granny and Grandpa Pig brought him a very special present. Can you guess what it was, Peppa? Peppa knew just what present it must have been. Mr. Dinosaur, she cried. Goo goo gah. Daddy Pig said that little Peppa and Susie like to do everything together. They like to jump, hee hee, and dance, la la la, la la la, and run all over the place, snort, bah. Then one day, said Mommy Pig, you saw something amazing. A muddy puddle. You loved jumping up and down in muddy puddles together, said Mommy Pig. Peppa, George, and Susie all ran outside. I still love muddy puddles, cried Peppa. Me too, cried Susie. Peppa, George, and Susie looked for the biggest muddy puddle they could find and jumped right in it. Daddy Pig brought his camera. Let's take a photo of you, Susie and George. Now Peppa, he said. Yes, exclaimed Peppa, because Susie and I were best friends in the olden days, and we're still best friends now. Click. Little or big, Peppa and Susie will always be best friends, and they'll always love jumping up and down in muddy puddles. The end. What was your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Peppa thought that she and Susie were jumping up and down in muddy puddles, but they were just babies and they couldn't even walk yet. Peppa Pig and a Day at the Museum. At breakfast, Mommy and Daddy Pig have a surprise. We have a special day planned, says Mommy Pig. We are going to a museum. What is a museum? Asked Peppa. It's a place full of interesting things. Sometimes those things are very old, says Daddy. Older than you? Asked Peppa. Yes, says Daddy. Even older than me. Here we are, says Mommy Pig. The museum is very big, says Peppa. Ooh, says George. Mommy and Daddy Pig buy tickets from Miss Rabbit. What would you like to see first? Asked Miss Rabbit. Jewels, cries Peppa. Dinosaur, says George. Grrr. The first stop is the King's and Queen's room. It is full of things from long ago. Peppa likes the beautiful robes. And look, there's a crown. There is a throne, too. Peppa wishes she could sit on it. She imagines what it'll be like to be queen. To wear the royal crown, and sit on the royal throne. If I were the queen, she says, I would eat cake every day. The family bows to her Royal Highness, Queen Peppa. George does not want to wear a crown and sit on the throne. He wants to see the dinosaurs. George stands at the doorway to the big dinosaur room. There are many unusual creatures here. Everything is so big, says Peppa in a very big voice. Oh, says George in a very small voice. George sees a big dinosaur. Don't worry, says Daddy. Those are just dinosaur bones. They may just be bones, but they are very big. George can just imagine what it would be like to be a dinosaur. He would be bigger than Peppa. He could chase her. George sees something smaller and not very scary. It's a robot dinosaur. Everyone is hungry, so they go to the museum cafe for cake. After the snack, it is time to see the next exhibit. There's a special one at the museum today, says Mummy Pig. It's all about space. George's friend Edmund is at the museum too. Edmund knows a lot about space. He and George wear space helmets to the tour of the exhibit. Miss Rabbit gives them their tickets. First, everyone gets on board the space ride. Blast off, says Mr. Rabbit. He is the tour guide. This is just pretend, isn't it? Asked Peppa. Yes, says Mr. Rabbit. It's just pretend. The rocket takes them to the pretend moon. There are pretend planets too. Do you know what the planets are made of? Asked Mr. Rabbit. Cardboard, says Peppa. Well, these models are made out of cardboard, but the real planets are made out of other things. Rock and ice and gas, says Edmund. What about cheese? Asked Daddy Pig. I thought the moon was made out of cheese. That's just silly, Daddy, says Peppa. If this was the real moon, you could jump over my head, says Mr. Rabbit. Do you know why? There's less gravity, yells Edmund. You're right. We can make you feel like you're on the moon with these special big rubber bands. Everybody straps into the rubber bands. They jump. Boing, boing, boing. Just like on the moon. Miss Rabbit takes their picture. At the gift shop, Peppa gets the picture of everyone jumping on the pretend moon. Daddy is hungry again, so he gets a piece of moon cheese. Then it's time to go home. It has been a great day at the museum. Later, Mummy Pig asks Peppa and George, what's your favorite thing at the museum? Peppa liked everything at the museum, but she does have a favorite. The crown, says Peppa. George liked the space ride, but that wasn't his favorite. Dinosaur, says George. I had two favorites, said Daddy Pig. The cake and the cheese. The end. What is your favorite part of this story? My favorite part of the story is where Daddy Pig buys moon cheese. I don't think there's even such thing as cheese in the moon.